Zeftai had killed 17 different species across 43 worlds. The Koranian assassin prided himself on meticulous research, perfect timing, and an unblemished record. When the contract came through his encrypted channels, eliminate Dr. Cathara Velnox, xenobiologist, currently residing on research station Kepler-7, he saw it as routine work. The target was elderly, isolated, and according to intelligence reports lived alone with her specimens. The payment was substantial, enough to fund his retirement. Zeftai accepted without question. Station Kepler-7 orbited a dying star in neutral space, far from any major shipping lanes, perfect for clandestine research and perfect for an assassination. Zeftai's stealth ship docked at the service bay during the station's night cycle. His thermal dampeners and optical camouflage made him effectively invisible as he navigated the sterile corridors toward the residential wing. Dr. Velnox's quarters occupied the station's end section, a sprawling laboratory habitat hybrid. Zeftai disabled the security sensors with practiced efficiency and slipped through the airlock. The antiseptic smell of a research facility filled his nostrils, but underneath it lurked something else. Something organic, wild. He paused, extending his heightened senses. The station files had mentioned specimens, but they'd been vague about the specifics. Zeftai had assumed standard laboratory animals, perhaps some rare bacteria cultures or plant samples. But these sounds, a low rumble, echoed from deeper, within the habitat. Then another, and another. Zeftai's predatory instincts sharpened. His species had evolved as apex hunters on Quran Prime, but something about those sounds triggered an unfamiliar sensation. Caution, bordering on concern. He pressed forward anyway. 17 species, 43 worlds. One elderly scientist wouldn't break his streak. The habitat's main laboratory sprawled before him, filled with strange equipment and glowing containment units. But it was the observation window that made Zeftai freeze. Beyond the reinforced, transparent aluminum lay what could only be described as a miniature wilderness. Trees, grass, running water, and scattered throughout this impossible garden were creatures. Bipedal, mostly hairless, wearing simple clothing. They moved with purpose, some tending to plants, others engaged in what appeared to be recreational activities. Fascinating, aren't they? Zeftai spun, his weapon materializing in his hand with fluid grace. Dr. Velnox stood in the doorway, a tall, blue-skinned Altarian with the silver hair and gentle eyes of advanced age. She showed no fear despite the plasma rifle aimed at her chest. Dr. Velnox. Zeftai's voice was cold, professional. You have 30 seconds to make peace with whatever gods you worship. The old scientist smiled. Would you like to know what you're looking at first? Professional curiosity? I know what I'm looking at. Specimens. Laboratory animals. But even as he said it, Zeftai found his gaze drawn back to the habitat. One of the creatures had noticed them through the window and was approaching, its face displaying unmistakable intelligence and curiosity. Those are humans, Dr. Velnox said quietly, from a little world called Earth. I've been studying them for 40 years. Humans. Zeftai had heard the name whispered in certain circles, usually followed by nervous laughter or uncomfortable silence. The ones from the outer spiral, the death world primitives. Primitives. Dr. Velnox laughed, but there was no humor in it. Oh, my dear assassin, you have no idea what you're dealing with. She gestured toward the habitat. When I first acquired them, they were indeed primitive. Stone tools, basic agriculture, tribal conflicts. But humans... She paused, her eyes taking on an almost maternal gleam. Humans adapt. They learn. They grow. Zeftai's weapon never wavered, but he found himself listening despite his training. The human at the window had been joined by others. They seemed to be organizing. 40 years I've observed them, guided them, taught them. Do you know what happened? Enlighten me. Quickly. They surpassed me. Dr. Velnox's voice carried equal parts pride and fear. Their technology now exceeds anything I could provide. Their understanding of genetics, physics, quantum mechanics, they've solved problems that have puzzled our greatest minds for millennia. And they did it in 4 decades. A soft chime echoed through the laboratory. Emergency lighting began to pulse in slow, rhythmic patterns. Zeftai's enhanced hearing caught the subtle hum of power systems redirecting. What is that? They've taken control of the station's systems. Dr. Velnox's voice remained calm, almost conversational. They did it about 30 seconds after you disabled the external sensors. Quite impressive, really. They reverse-engineered our quantum encryption protocols in real time. Zeftai's training screamed at him to end this conversation. Complete the mission and escape. But those sounds from the habitat were growing louder, more organized, and the humans visible through the window had tripled in number. They know you're here, of course. They've been monitoring galactic communications for years. They know about the contract on my life. They know about you. The weapon in Zeftai's hands suddenly felt very small. I've raised them, protected them, loved them as my own children, Dr. Velnox continued. But humans have this peculiar trait. They're fiercely protective of those they consider family. The laboratory's main door slid open. Humans began filing in, not primitive specimens, but clearly organized, clearly purposeful. Their technology was subtle but obviously advanced. Personal shields shimmered around their forms. Their weapons, while unfamiliar, radiated lethal potential. They are also remarkably creative when it comes to conflict resolution, the doctor added. 40 years of observing their military history has been educational. Zeftai realized, with growing horror, that he was no longer the hunter. The apex predator from Quran Prime, killer of 17 species across 43 worlds, was now very much the prey. The humans arranged themselves in a loose semicircle, their formation suggesting tactical training that would impress veteran soldiers. Their leader, a human with graying hair and calculating eyes, stepped forward. Dr. Velnox, the human said, its voice carrying warmth and respect. Are you all right? I'm fine, Marcus. Though I believe our visitor here has some decisions to make. Marcus turned to study Zeftai with unsettling intensity. You came here to hurt our mother. The way the human said mother carried undertones that made Zeftai's survival instincts scream warnings. This wasn't just protection. This was family. The contract specified elimination only, Zeftai found himself saying. Nothing personal. Everything's personal when it comes to family, another human replied. A female, smaller than Marcus, but somehow radiating even more dangerous energy. Dr. Velnox moved to stand between Zeftai and the humans. Now, children, let's be civilized about this. I'm sure we can reach an understanding. Marcus nodded slowly. Of course. We've prepared several options for our guest here. The way he said options suggested that Zeftai's continued existence featured prominently in only one of them. Option 1, Marcus continued, you leave. Immediately. You tell whoever hired you that Dr. Velnox died of natural causes. You never mention this place, these humans, or anything you've learned here. And option 2? The semicircle of humans smiled in perfect unison. It was not a comforting expression. There is no option 2, Dr. Velnox said gently. Trust me, dear. Take option 1. Zeftai looked around the laboratory, at the elderly scientist who'd somehow earned the fierce loyalty of an entire species, at the humans who'd transformed from primitive specimens into something that made his apex predator instincts whimper. Warnings! At the habitat that had become something far more dangerous than any research facility. He lowered his weapon. Natural causes. Understood. As he backed toward the airlock, Dr. Velnox called after him. Oh, and Zeftai, you might want to consider a career change. The humans have been asking about expanding their reach into the galaxy. The last thing Zeftai heard before the airlock sealed was Marcus speaking to the other humans. Should we tell the fleet he'll be spreading the word about Mom's death? Let him, came the reply. Fear is a form of respect. Zeftai's ship cleared the station's gravitational field in record time. Behind him, Research Station Kepler-7 continued its orbit around the dying star, housing secrets that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what humans truly were. He would complete the contract, report Dr. Velnox's death as requested, but he would also remember the lesson learned in that laboratory. Never, ever threaten a human's family. Some jobs, Zeftai realized, simply weren't worth taking.